World War II was fought by many, but remembered by few. Beyond the names in the history books, there are countless stories of unsung heroes who changed the course of history. Heroes you've probably never heard about. Stay with me to the end, and you'll discover not only their incredible feats, but also a story of cryptic brilliance that left enemy forces completely baffled. Trust me, you won't want to miss the tale of a code so complex it left the enemy speechless. Our first story takes us to the skies above London, 1940. Britain was under siege during the Blitz. While the nation watched helplessly as the Luftwaffe rained bombs, one unsung hero soared into the fray. Meet Group Captain Douglas Bader, a man who, despite losing both legs in an accident, continued to fly fighter planes in defense of his country. Now imagine this: Bader, a man without legs, flying in the deadliest air combat in history. His prosthetics, not a hindrance, but a testament to human resilience. Bader's squadron, the Tangmere Wing, led a defense so fierce that it forced the Luftwaffe to rethink their strategy. But it wasn't just his fighting spirit that made him a legend. He was captured by the Germans in 1941, and what did he do? Tried to escape not once, but multiple times. His perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds is an example of the extraordinary bravery that WWII was built on. Though Bader's name may not be as familiar as Churchill or Roosevelt, his legacy is etched in the skies of Britain. And oh, did I mention? When the Germans captured him, they kept his prosthetic legs as souvenirs. Talk about adding insult to injury. In 1944, the people of Warsaw launched an extraordinary but often forgotten uprising against the Nazi occupation. It was one of the largest revolts during World War II, lasting 63 days against insurmountable odds. Think about it, an entire city rising up against one of the most powerful armies in the world. It wasn't just soldiers who fought. Civilians, men, women, even children, took up arms to defend their home. They built makeshift barricades, turned street corners into battlefields, and faced tanks with little more than sheer willpower. And while the uprising was ultimately crushed, it sent a clear message to the Nazis and to the world. The human spirit, once ignited, is unstoppable. The bravery of the people of Warsaw echoes through history, and today we remember not just their defeat, but their courage. And here's the twist. When the Allies learned about the uprising, they promised help that never came. A heart-wrenching reminder that in war, alliances can be fragile, and sometimes heroism goes unrewarded. Our next story highlights the brave men and women of the French resistance. These unsung heroes worked behind enemy lines, sabotaging Nazi supply lines, gathering intelligence, and even assassinating high-ranking officials. Now imagine risking everything, your life, your family, your home, to fight an enemy that seems unstoppable. These ordinary citizens became extraordinary agents of disruption. They knew that each mission could be their last, but they fought anyway. Their acts of sabotage may seem small in the grand scheme of a global war, but they were crucial to the success of D-Day and the liberation of France. In fact, by 1944, the Nazis were so terrified of the resistance that they referred to them as the Army of Shadows. And yet, for all their efforts, many resistance fighters remain nameless in history. They weren't in it for the fame, of course. But the irony remains. Sometimes the most heroic acts are the ones history almost forgets. Now let's move from Europe to the Pacific. One of the most ingenious and overlooked contributions to the Allied war effort came from the Navajo Code Talkers. These Native American soldiers created an unbreakable code based on their native language that left Japanese intelligence completely baffled. While the Axis powers were busy breaking every code they could get their hands on, the Navajo language proved too complex. It was a language that wasn't written down and had dialects that even other tribes couldn't easily understand. Combine that with military terminology, and the result? An unbreakable cipher that secured countless Allied victories. And here's the best part. They didn't just sit in the back sending messages. They were on the front lines, transmitting critical battlefield information under fire. Their efforts played a key role in victories like the Battle of Iwo Jima. And yet, for years, their contributions went unrecognized. These men didn't fight for fame, they fought for their country. It wasn't until decades later that the US government formally recognized their efforts. A stark reminder that not all heroes wear medals. From pilots who soared above London, to fighters in the streets of Warsaw, to the Navajo Code Talkers in the Pacific, these stories remind us that history is full of heroes who worked in the shadows, heroes whose actions changed the world, but whose names we rarely hear. And here's the thing, there are countless more stories waiting to be told. If you've enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure you subscribe to Era of the Past. Hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to discover the next hidden story. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring the era of the past.